So it's the second week in a row that you have talked about that you've done this, right? Where it's 2 weeks in a row, like now it's like an awareness thing. That was the biggest point that I wanted to accomplish. And we're going to do this all year. And I want you to do it all year, because now you get to start looking back and saying, all right, because you all have a number, right? And the number that and I haven't sent the sheet to everybody, and I'll be doing that today. I'll be doing that, getting that out to everybody this afternoon. Your goal sheet that you had your numbers on there, what your production goal was, and then the three goals that you wanted to set up, or the projects for Q1. And to be fair, we didn't adjust for seasonality. There's always a seasonality in this business. The spring, the first quarter is usually about 40 to 60% of what the second and third quarters can be. And then the fourth quarter is usually more like the first quarter. So if you calibrate for that, you're not going to have, if you need 100 leads for the year to hit your goal, and you say, well, that's 8 a month, and you use 8 for January, it's going to like throw you off. So just to be fair. So we didn't calibrate that way. And honestly, it would have been really challenging to do that this year, because the last 3 years, the numbers are all skewed anyway. If you look at our volume you look at the first quarter volume and the second quarter volume and compare it to Q3 and Q4. I mean, Q4 was like 50% of Q2 in volume. So this would have been really hard to like calibrate for that. So it's a different time. The point is that you have a number, and the awareness of what your results are every single week should drive behavior for the following week, right? So it's just a question of, so now you start to work backwards and you say, okay, because, you saw the demonstration that Renee's done several times, which is, dials equals conversations equals appointments equal, meetings, which equal leads, which equal credit pulls. So you got to go back behind the lead activity. Now the lead is a result of activity that you're doing. And so the question is, are you doing the activity at the level that you need to do it? You heard Chris talk about Giuseppe. He's jacked up because Giuseppe's like, okay, I want to have 25 calls. And Chris is like, okay, well then I'm going to do 25 calls. That's what I'm talking about. Being aware of every single day what that activity level is what's going to produce the result that you're looking for. And that's what this is. So every week, this is the discussion. This is not shaming. This is not embarrassing you. You don't do that to yourself. Don't, because I've seen people do this before and they're like, well, I don't like talking about this because I keep failing every week. It's like going, dude, you signed up for this. You signed up for sales. This isn't about shaming you. This is about you treating this like a real business that you own, because it is you Inc. This is your company inside of Zenith. And it's all a question of, are you doing the activity that produces the result that you said you wanted, right? So those are your goals, and I'm supporting them. And that's all this is giving you the ability to look at it. And it's just honest. It's not, because too often in this business, especially real estate agents and loan officers are the best at bullshitting themselves about what's really happening. And because they don't ever look at this. They don't ever look at that number and go, well, this is the real fucking number. Like, this is the real number, and that's it. And so, I recognize the Jim, Alfonso. I gave Alfonso a pretty good shot last week when he said, well, I don't do this on Friday. I count it on Sunday. It's like, yeah, it doesn't work. So you got to think about, Jim Rohn always said this a long time ago. He said, just give me the number and I'll give you the story, right? So we don't do fractions. These boxes that you have for these numbers, they don't fit fractions. They don't fit stories. They just fit results. Because the results are the results, and that's it. And that's what will drive your business and lead to success, is that if you decide that's all I have to do is focus on the activity, which is going to produce the result. If you're not getting the result, it's that you're not doing enough of the activity. Because the law of averages say, if you do the activity at a high enough level, you will get the result. That's what the law of averages say. You've got to improve your skill, of course. You've got to improve your strategy, of course. You've got to keep getting better. But if you're not doing any of the activity, nothing's going to work. And so go back to that last Coffee for Closers meeting that we had before Christmas, where it says the secret to your success is found in that daily agenda. What did you do yesterday? What was your prospecting activity? Did you meet the targets? Did you plan for it? And did you do it? That's it. That's what it comes down to. So there you go. So let's talk about the book, Fanatical Prospecting, the key takeaways, my key takeaway is just exactly what we said earlier, is like those first 2 chapters. It's just so painfully obvious. The first 2 chapters of the book are the ones that stand out the most for me, because it's as simple as there is no shortcut, right? There is no secret. There is no the easy button, and everybody sells that. Everybody sells, oh, here's the easy way to do it, or prospecting's dead, you don't ever have to. It's like, no, none of that's true. The best performers always are the ones that do the most prospecting. And then you get into the chapter further, and I'll let everybody else share, but I love the talk about, I love what they shared about the, I love what he shared about the balancing out your prospecting activity across several different things instead of just one thing, because it's a more balanced approach. I got to find a text that I got from Ryan. Here's what he sent to me. His text on Monday morning or Tuesday morning. He goes, thanks for making me and us read Fanatical Prospecting. I couldn't fall asleep last night after reading it because I was so pumped to start the day today, LOL. And then later the next day, or was it that day? Yeah, that day, he said, I just had the best morning of uninterrupted prospecting I've ever had today, LFG. So I hope that you're getting as excited about it as Ryan was. That was so cool to see, because it really is just taking a different approach. And what was exciting about what he said, but one of the other things that he shared was, it was so nice to just concentrate that time for an hour. Cause I'm just doing this for an hour and I don't care what this guy says. I'm going to make the next call. And so there you go. Who wants to go first? You want Christine, you're at the top. So go ahead.
I really like this book, and I really related to, what you said earlier when he's talking about diversifying your prospecting. For me personally, over my entire sales career, that's probably been most important to me, is to know what market that you're selling in, know what those people like, and do those things. So it might not all be cold calling. You might do events, you might do, networking things, and that's really what I've kind of strategized within my own community and in the springs that I'm selling in. So that's a part that I really, really agree with and relate to.
Right on. Awesome. Let's go. Jay.
Yeah, I like this book a lot too. A couple of the takeaways that I had were like, once you get past the fear of interrupting people, prospecting really does get a lot easier, and it's not that bad. A lot of people kind of get that notion in their head about, man, I don't know, I feel like I'm interrupting everybody, and like, but once you get past that and you're just like, hey, I'm just doing this, it's really not that bad.
It's not. It's just like, this is what I do. This is my job, right? So right on. Alfonso.
Piggybacking on Christine, because that really touched me, where you prospect on different levels. So yeah, networking, referral partner meetings, social media, and then hitting that phone with the dials and getting conversations from there. And the first 4 chapters, like, they get you pumped up. So yeah, I couldn't drop the book either. I read it for like straight 4 chapters straight. So yeah, thank you.
Right on. Dennis.
Like I said before, definitely the kick in the ass, and just a reminder of that, that my dad used to say, look, you spit in one hand and wish in the other and see which one fills up faster. And there's no doubt about it that you got to do the work. I liked his reference to Gargoyle being the cold calling evil little monster that it's not.
Right.
But yeah, just great reminders, and it does work. I've witnessed it occur, and there's no doubt. So.
Mr. Hauber.
Yeah, so far so good. It's a great book. I guess just like that initial fear part, right? Because I think you said this last week, Dave, but I do this. I'm sure everyone does. You're like, oh, fuck, I don't make the call, do something else, and then do something else. But once you make like 2 in a row, you're like, oh shit, that was easy. And then you just keep like plowing through. So you just got to get over that like initial call. So I think that was in relation to chapter 4, I believe.
Right.
But yeah, so that's my big takeaway. It's just
I've read ahead in this book,
get
so
over
I'm
that fear and you can just go for it. And
I've read ahead in this book, so I'm not sure if it was in these first 4 chapters. Now it's kind of blurring me, but I was on a Darren Hardy call yesterday with somebody and they were talking about this. Everybody, I said this to my wife today. I don't love going to the gym every day and working out. Like sometimes I'm in the gym and I'm just going, I fucking hate this. I don't want to do this, but I'm there and I'm doing it. And I'm like, but I'm really glad I fucking came and I just have to keep coming. And then most of the time it doesn't feel that way. Just every now and then I was like, God damn it. I fucking hate this. but there's so many other things I want from that I got to keep going. And so I think when you think about prospecting, it's okay to hate it, you guys. Like, it's okay. Like we shouldn't have to like, I love prospecting. I was like, I kind of think that's bullshit. That like, oh, I love prospecting. It's like, do you? Because I don't love it. I never loved it. Maybe some people do, but I wasn't one of them. And so, but I just knew it was like going, dude, I got to make it. Like, what deals do I have? Like, do I have any deals? Okay, who can I call? It was just that mindset that said, well, I'm not working on anything else. I got to call somebody. Right. So I think that's what he's trying to get across in those first couple of chapters is like, dude, just make the call. Like, just get over it and make the call. Ocean.
Yeah, I really like the part that talks about like mindset and how that's absolutely within your control. So I guess just the mindset that I go in to like making my calls with people I've never talked to, or maybe it's some realtors that I know and I'm trying to get leads from them or ask them for leads. Maybe it's financial advisors. It's just like, instead of thinking about like interrupting them, I guess I just think about like, they're going to walk away with something from this call. So I'm not interrupting them. It's worth it for them. You know, it's worth it. So that's just kind of the mindset that I try to go into it with, and then try to bring a little bit of value with it, just so that I'm not just calling like, hey, can I have leads, please? You know.
Right. Yeah, no, that's an excellent point, because I think that's one of the reasons that we don't like it. One of the reasons I didn't like it is that I knew I wanted something from them. I knew that I wanted something from them, and I was going to be rejected because I wasn't going to get it. Right. And so I think that's a really good point. If you have a different mindset that just says, no, I'm here to add value. I want to see if I can help. And that's a different viewpoint. And that can change your approach. Giuseppe.
Yeah, great book. Let's see. I think the thing that stood out to me was kind of like what Christine said, you know, just making sure you have a balanced approach. In chapter 2, it talks about the 7 like mindsets, I think, of a good sales professional. And one that I thought I could take a little different spin on was number 5, was thirsty for knowledge. And so I've fallen into the trap before of like falling into like thinking knowledge is like the shiny new object, right? Or like, I don't know, I'm just making up an example, like someone could reach out and be like, I can get all these people on social media to reach out to you if you just focus on doing 10 YouTube shorts a day, right? I'm like, okay, I'm going to try that. When really what I needed to focus on was just focusing, thirsty for knowledge on how to improve myself, and not how to like necessarily improve your business, because there's no shortcuts, right? You have to just continue doing the hard stuff.
Thank you.
Can I say one more thing?
Yes, because you have to go, don't you?
Yeah. I was just going to mention one thing that really changed for me when I started prospecting was telling myself that I had something valuable when I was talking to people. Because I feel if you're making calls and you're like always thinking, oh, I got to get this person to like me, I got to get this person to buy what I have, rather than I have something valuable that this person wants. And if they don't want it, that's their loss. And I think that really changes the way that you have conversations with people. It really changes, you know, your excitement for making phone calls. So I used to put a postie up that said, I am valuable when I was calling, and it totally changed everything and how I had those conversations. So
I love that. Because
Yeah,
you
on
are
that-
valuable.
On that same thing, I always like switch my mindset. I'm like, I'm not selling anybody anything, like clients, realtors. I'm helping them. And I've always felt like that was better. And it comes across better with people don't like being sold stuff. So
it totally does. Your
Same thing.
whole conversation changes.
Go ahead, Dennis.
Yeah, I was just going to say that without the money and the financing, none of these things happen. And we're the source of money. So That's important. This gives my mindset the right thing.
Can't do it without me, right?
Can't do it without me.
Jan,
Yeah, so I actually read this book right before I started my prospecting, and the mindset chapter for me is huge. Adapting, adopting, new techniques or whatnot. I remember earlier in prospecting, I had this agent who would not take my calls, just blow me off. And so finally I decided to get creative and have fun with it. And I actually mailed her a card and said, well, since you can't answer my phone calls, do you want to be pen pals? And I got a phone call like the next week. And so, and she's actually one of my good agents now. So it's like maintaining that mindset of, staying optimistic, finding new ways. And then going back to like, especially like with my business, if one thing doesn't work, it doesn't mean you failed. It's just try something different.
love that. Love the mail. I love that you mailed that letter, because if you've identified somebody as a target that you want to do business with, then who cares how long, like seriously, who freaking cares how long it takes? If you've identified them as somebody like, I want to be in business with that guy or that gal, then who cares if it takes 5 years? Because when that happens, it'll be like, okay, this is great. That's what I wanted. I think a lot of us are like addicted to that instant gratification deal. It's not necessary. Persistence pays off for sure. Keegan.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think the big theme in the first couple of chapters is just don't be a little bitch. That's kind of that's kind of what it says. But to like piggyback that, I didn't know that like 80% of sales is in the top 20%, which I thought was pretty interesting. So the top 20% of producers basically own the whole market. And I think the big takeaway from that is that it's not a job, it's a lifestyle. Like it never stops. So, whether you're at a coffee shop, you turn around and talk to the person next to you, or you're at a sporting game. I mean, it's just like, there's never an off switch for the people, the superstars, as he says, which I think is really cool. And then the other big thing that I took is just that don't make excuses. Like, yeah, the market sucks, but the people that don't succeed are always like blaming the product, the pricing, the service, the market, and the people who succeed just, they don't make those excuses. So
Great stuff. Excellent. Thank you. Emily.
What stuck out to me was and people have mentioned it, it's not the cold calling that's hard, it's the interrupting. That line in the book definitely jumped out at me. And I think it rang true in a way that I've probably always known for myself, but just like didn't really define it in that way. And I think the reason why is because I don't like being interrupted. So I'm going to have to ask some more whys as to why I don't. It got the wheels turning for me for sure. And I know plenty of people are going to say, and have already said, well, you have to understand that you're adding value. And I do. It's not going to make it click for me. So I think I'm going to have to kind of keep asking myself why. I think for me, it's like an energy thing. Like I'm very careful and in control of what I let into my day. So I think about other people in the same way. So even though it is value and I totally believe that, I'm going to have to ask some more whys, kind of like how you had us do the 2023 goals. Like, what's your why? You have to ask like yourself 5 times maybe before you get to the root. I got to ask myself a couple more whys on the interrupting, why I don't like it.
Right on. That's great insight. Good job. Casey.
One of the biggest things for me is just how blunt, like no pun intended, right? How blunt the first few chapters are. And it's just eye-opening to say, hey, this is something that needs to be done. And it's not so much the fear of prospecting, right? Everyone's afraid of rejection. But think about it this way. How much do you like winning? Because when you get one of those prospecting calls, if it's 1 out of your 20 calls, were your 20 calls worth it? Absolutely.
Yep, absolutely.
Right. So those 20 calls were your game. And you get that one win, you just won your day.
Right.
Right. And that's the thing that's exciting.
Right on.
It sucks to do it. And when you win, it feels good.
Well, it's like nobody likes working out. Everybody likes, I don't like working out. I like having worked out. I love leaving the gym going, okay, I got my workout done, right? It's the same thing. Like, okay, I did the work and I got what I wanted.
And it's that concept, like Chris said, like how many times, you know, and we've discussed this before, you wake up, your alarm goes off and you're like, okay, well, I could hesitate for another second. You tell yourself, like, get the fuck out of bed. You get up and you're like, I'm not sure if I actually want to do this workout. And you stand there and you stare at it. All right, let's do it. In the second you start doing it, you're gonna finish it. You make that first call, you make that second call, you're gonna hit your calls.
Right on. Are you using, I was on the phone. I had a call yesterday, a quick call with Todd Bookspan yesterday. Are you using the actual planner from Win by Noon?
I still have some that I haven't used.
So you're using those?
I've been tracking my day notes in those, but they're not like actual to the
They're not
date.
synced up to the right date. Yeah, that's okay.
Right.
You don't need that.
Harbor walked in and goes, you still using this? Yeah, take my daily notes on it.
Right on. Good job. Jack.
I think the biggest takeaway for me was, one, it was just funny listening to him in the first 2 chapters. Like, this isn't rocket science, it's just sales, and there's no quick fix, there's no magic potion, there's just make the calls, do the work, and go about your day. And then I think the biggest thing from the mindset perspective is just to remember the worst thing anybody's ever going to do is tell you no, and that's it. And as long as you can remember that piece, the rest of it becomes easy, because when somebody tells you no, they're not saying you suck, you're stupid, and you're an idiot, why are you calling me? It's just they're saying no. And the reality is they might not be smart enough to be telling you yes. So I think if you can kind of keep that in the back of your head when you're making some of these phone calls, it's like, it might be no right now. It's the same thing we tell clients that aren't ready to buy right now. It's like, it's just because it's no right now doesn't mean it's no forever. And like to Jan's point, it's like that consistency, and be annoying, create value, make noise, make sure they know who you are, because eventually the ones that you want to work with will come back around if you're creating the right value for them.
Well, just do what Jan did. Like, somebody blows you off like that. It's like, since you won't take my calls, can we be pen pals? That'll fucking get you an appointment every time, I would think. Jesus, that's hilarious. That's a freaking great, what a great strategy. That's awesome. You know what? It's just, it's so funny because we're our own worst enemy when it comes to this. We're our own worst enemy. We do ourselves the most damage. But if you can turn this into a 1 hour thing, because any of you can do something for 1 hour. If you plan for it, you've done the research on who you want to call, and you're like, okay, I'm just doing this for an hour and I'm going to power through for an hour, and then you're done. Like, you're going to feel like $1 million that you did it right every time. So that's great. Good job. Jessica, thanks for joining. I know I thought you weren't going to get on at all, but I can't remember what the deal was, but thanks for jumping on.
Yeah, I just drove my boyfriend to the airport. He's leaving for 3 weeks, so thought that would be important. Yeah, so my takeaway is that, like, basically as I'm thinking about prospecting, I'm like, am I doing it right? You know, a lot of times I'm like, am I doing it? Like, is this prospecting? What is prospecting? And I think you just kind of nailed it down to interrupting people. So that's just what I took away. And I was like, okay, like, I love interrupting people. Like the exact opposite. I'm sorry, but I've been interrupting people a lot in my life. It's just like, it's sending an email, sending a text, being persistent, like just making, you know, they call it sweet persistence. You know, I'm never upset. I'm always just, you know, oh yeah, I know you're so busy. You got it. Like, me too. Yeah. Let's keep talking. Like, you know, so I don't know. I feel good now knowing that, like, as long as I'm interrupting people, I'm prospecting. And I'm going to keep rolling with that.
Right on. Great job. Thank you. This was good stuff. All right. So let's read. I haven't scanned out the next few chapters. So let me do that. I want to make sure that we're not like burying you in reading, because I want us to be able to spend some time like really absorbing this information. So we may only do a chapter a week or something like that. The first few chapters were pretty light. Dean, do you have any takeaways that you want to share?
Yeah, actually, this is the third time I've read this book. It is probably one of my favorite sales books, because I think one of the most important things you can do in sales is prospecting. That is a great skill. And one of my favorite quotes from the book is, there is no easy button in sales. Prospecting's hard, emotionally draining work, and it's the price you have to pay to earn a high income. And one of the reasons it's so emotionally draining is because the highs are high and the lows are low. I mean, you go from, and you think about when you're prospecting, like if you've had an hour of prospecting and you got nothing out of it, man, you feel like, oh, geez, what was that worth? Like, but every time you get one that goes, yes, I got it, right? You want to tell everybody about it. And that's a trap a lot of people fall into, is they stop prospecting and then they got to go tell somebody that they just had a great call or whatever. Just stay the course. Casey and I have talked about this a couple of times about make one more call. And it has always panned out when you've made one more call. When you want to
guys
stop.
get to the end, that's one of the most powerful takeaways in there, is like, if you just got to the end of the day, every day for the rest of your freaking life, if you got to the end of every day and go like, okay, who's one more person I can call before I wrap it up? I'm just going to call somebody. Like, who could I call? Just randomly, like, who could I call? It'd be amazing to see what the results of making that one more call is. Maybe that's the challenge for everybody this week. So for the next 5 days, at the end of the business day, make a call, just one more call at the end of the day, somebody you weren't necessarily planning on calling, or maybe it's somebody that you called earlier today, but they didn't answer. And so call them back. Just make one more call and let's see what happens for a week. Let's track that for next week. So that'll be the challenge. All right. So I love that. One more call. Rock on. I love this in the book. This is funny. This is just funny. This is the brutal truth is in sales, you're owed nothing. You got to get your ass up and go out there and make things happen for yourself. Blah, blah, blah. The mindset is that mindset is the difference between driving a Mercedes or a Hyundai, wearing a Rolex or a Timex. Okay. So there you go. It's brutal, but it's true. And so let's get to work. I want you all driving Mercedes. I kind of want you all driving Mercedes, but like, I want you driving the car of your dreams is what I want. So, so Giuseppe, I asked Giuseppe if he would take a minute and just share the tracking sorry about the video or the audio on my 2 emails yesterday. The second one, it seems like everybody was able to listen to, but just wanted Giuseppe to share this tracking system that he's put in place. And I know it's evolved over the years. And so I just asked him to share it. Knowing these numbers, this is the key thing that I want to make sure that you're getting out of this for 2023. And if you can adopt this, you'll have an amazing business careers in this field, because you're going to become an animal about tracking your numbers and knowing your numbers. And that's what this is. So Giuseppe, go ahead and share your screen and thanks for doing this.
Sure. All right. So.
And to be fair, he didn't start like this. Like he had a system similar to this. And then this thing is like, I've seen it, this thing has evolved dramatically over the years.
Yeah, I mean, Building Champions had this thing called the Navigator, but it was like a sheet of paper and they had 10 spots for referral sources, something like that. So you just outgrow that eventually. And then once Google Sheets became available, it just became really easy to throw it on here. So basically it just lists all the realtors I work with or have worked with at some point, and their leads and their closed loans. And then at the end of the day, so like my lead to closed loan ratio for last year was 55%. And so that's just a basic formula there. But I had mentioned how it was kind of cool to see my progress through the years. So if I go back to 2017, which is when I started using Google Sheets. And then you just, like a spreadsheet, you copy it over, zero out the numbers, and that's 2023 now, right? So that conversion ratio was like 40% in 2017, and then in 2018, it went up to 45%, and then 2019. It was 55%. And then 2020 and 2021, it was like 90% because there were so many refinances. But even in 2019, I feel like I did like 175 refinances that year. So, it was kind of skewed. So I was pretty happy with the numbers from last year. So in Salesforce, to get that data, I had the Salesforce team just build this report, this tab that I can just click on once a month. And it tells me, you know, the closed loans. This is for December, so 10 walk-in opportunities.
We're looking at a daily prospecting
Oh,
track.
I'm sorry. That's next. So in Salesforce, you can just reach out to Salesforce. And if you want this is called just like the prior month, last month activity dashboard. And it gives me everything I need to plug into that spreadsheet. So it makes it really easy. It only takes like 10 minutes to fill it out at the end of the month.
So just everybody write that down if you're interested. Giuseppe last month activity dashboard. You can let them know that you need that created for you. And then you can pull up that data.
Yeah, so then it gives you your new opportunities and how many people you pre-approved and how many apps you triggered and credit pulls, closed locks. Surprised to see 2 refi locks on there, but that brought the grand total for the year to 15 refis.
So how do you, so just out of curiosity, before you jump to that other sheet, so what do you do with the data? Like, what are you doing every week or every month when you look at the data? What goes through your mind?
I don't look at it that often. I look at it when I enter it and I look at it at the end of the year, but you know, you start to see, you know, maybe patterns, some realtors that you weren't, like maybe they're really chill realtors, but like you closed 5 deals with them, right? You feel like you never talked to them, like, you know, I want to maybe have lunch with them, right? And then you find some other realtors on the other end that like you feel like you're always on the phone with them. And then you close like 1 transaction or 2 transactions, right? So you just can start.
That's the aha. That's the big aha
Yeah,
one.
you can start to, you know, tailor your marketing, you know, according to some of that.
Well, and tailoring the time investment. I remember the first time we were doing that was, I think it was when I think we were using ACT. Anyway, I remember this is way back in like 2007 or 8. And Scott Beyer was my real estate agent. Was I thought my best referring party agent, like going, because I felt like I was talking to him like 5 days a week. And then I get the freaking volume. We did 5 deals that year. And I'm like going, Jesus Christ, why do I talk to this guy so much? And so it's that recognition stuff that makes a big difference for you.
Yeah. So there's 2 tabs that I use on this navigator. One is this one, which again, I could send this to you and you could copy and paste it or however you want to do it. Really easy to build with just some very basic Excel knowledge. So I just track the leads, I track the closed loans, and then at the end of the month, using that dashboard that was created, I'll track new referrals, how many discovery calls I had, how many credit reports, pre-approvals, contracts, refi locks, apps triggered, and then closed loans. And I just do that once a month.
Right on.
So that's the internal business. The other one is like where's the business coming from, right? So then this year I wanted to, with a focus on prospecting, I just built this little Excel spreadsheet. It's really fancy. So, you know, I hope it doesn't blow anyone's mind here, but I'm just tracking. I mean, I've always called people for their birthdays, except for like 2020 and 2021. I just send them an email, but so I'm calling clients for their birthdays. I'm calling the realtors to tell them that their client has a birthday. I just haven't done those yet today. I'm tracking all my realtor check-in calls, how many realtor meetings I've scheduled that day, how many I've had that day, and how many annual reviews or on hold clients I'm talking to.
I freaking love this.
And that's it. So then at the end of the month, I have to figure out how to build it for February, but that's about it.
Here's what I love about what he's doing there, guys. There's a lot of activity that can be counted as prospecting activity, right? So I love that you put the birthday notification call to the real estate agent in there. That's prospecting activity, guys. I mean, you can, whether you think it or not, you're checking in with the realtor going, hey, guess what? It's so-and-so's birthday. Make sure that you give them a call. How's everything going? right? Because you're not talking to these people on a consistent basis, depending on, now, of course, if you talked to somebody last, a couple of days ago, you wouldn't necessarily do that. But I would count that in my prospecting activity. And I love that he put that on his spreadsheet, because I want you to get credit for everything that you're doing and give yourself credit for everything that you're doing. Right. So kudos to you for thinking about that. Does anybody have any questions for Giuseppe on what he's doing?
Text the realtor. If you get their voicemail, text them after and be like, hey, it's John Smith's birthday. If you want to reach out, here's their number. So like, you're making it so easy for them, right? They can just like click on it and give them a call and look like a rock star.
I have a question. Do you know what time our emails go out to the realtor, letting them know that it's the birthday? And do you try to hit a call before that?
I don't send that out. I don't know what that is,
Okay.
but that's a good
I
idea.
think it automatically goes out, G, from Surefire.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm set up on that. I think I would have heard by now from agents.
Yeah, because they'd pick up the phone and they'd be like, oh, I got your email.
Yeah, exactly. Someone would have said that, or at some point they would have been like, yeah, I got the email too, but I've never heard that. So
Well,
it's one of those things I opted out at the beginning because I was very cautious when we joined VIP. I was like, I don't want a bunch of canned emails going out that I don't even know are going out. So I opted out of most things and then started opting in to them.
That might be a good one to opt out of, just to intentionally make that call rather than an email.
And it's just another one of the 100 emails they're going to get. And if they're busy, they're not even going to look at it.
You know what? I agree with you. And here's why. I used to say all the time that birthday call was just the dumbest, easiest, and most impactful phone call that you could make to a past client, because you're not calling for any other reason than to wish them a happy birthday. And you're not trying to get business. You're not trying to, you're like, hey dude, how's it going? I just want to wish you a happy birthday. Because, they would get on the phone and go like, yeah, what's up, Giuseppe? It's like, oh, I just want to wish you a happy birthday. There's always a pause. Like, are you serious? And so if you're doing the same thing for I think I love the real estate agent call way better than the email, especially after what you just said, Giuseppe, which was that another one of the 100 emails that they're going to get that day.
Yeah. And I mean, Dave taught me to call buyers, right, for their birthdays. So again, except for 2020 and 2021, where I was just doing an email in the mornings real quick. I always called, and it goes to voicemail 90% of the time, but it happens every single year that you get a call back from someone and they're like, dude, I got like a call from my mom and you. Thank you. I got a bunch of emails and Facebook messages. So thanks for taking the time to call. And then it happens even more often that someone in the cubicle next door hears the conversation and they're like, who was that? Oh, that's my lender. And they're like, oh, I want to buy a house. And then like they make an introduction, like stupid free marketing.
Rock on. All of this is prospecting, you guys. So don't discount this. This is great. All right. Want to wrap it up. Thank you, Giuseppe, for all of the shares. So don't forget don't forget the challenge. You're going to make one more call every day for the next 5 days. Next week, when we call next 5 business days, next week, when we get on here, I want to hear the results of of making one more call and see what happened. I mean, who knows? Let's test the theory. I'm thinking something's going to happen. So let's have some fun with it. I will get you all a count of what chapters we're going to read for next week, and let's have an awesome rest of your day. Thanks, everyone.